Good evening and many thanks for joining us live on QTV. You are watching QTV News and I am Ajibintu Drame. In tonight's top stories. As the Gambia's new cabinet commences its maiden two-day retreat to address pressing challenges facing the country, the vice president stressed it will not be business as usual for this administration. Stakeholders in the agricultural sector on Tuesday reviewed the Gambia's performance in the third biennial report, which focused on agricultural growth and poverty reduction. The first rain of this year's rainy season in Basse flooded the community of Basse Kabakama, causing panic among residents. The University of the Gambia on Wednesday organized its 12th matriculation ceremony for undergraduate students for the 2021-2022 academic year. In sports news, Gambia's Scorpion tasted defeat as they lost away to the Republic of Congo in Brazzaville in their second AFCON 2023 qualifiers. All 7 Gambian athletes competing at the African Athletes Championship in Mauritius have taken part in heats of their various events on the first day of the competition. Those were our main headlines. Now the news in detail. Now, as the Gambia's new cabinet commences its maiden two-day retreat to address pressing challenges facing the country, the vice president stressed the thematic areas of the retreat, including civil service reforms. He also confirmed the high expectations of Gambians, saying there cannot be business as usual. Mobudul Amin Choi reports.
A month after President Adama Barrow appointed a new cabinet, a maiden cabinet retreat sees all sectors of government represented, including almost all cabinet ministers, permanent secretaries, heads of departments and agencies, and others. The discussions focus on 10 key thematic priority areas, namely civil service reform, security, cost of living, employment, land issues, educational reform including TVET, the environment, foreign policy, migration and tourism. They represent perhaps the most significant development challenges facing the country. The Vice President of the Gambia, Dr. Aliu Bazara Diouf, gives the opening remarks.
The Gambian people have great expectations. And it reminds me of 2 writers. Charles Dickens wrote Great Expectations. Chinua Achebe wrote No Longer at Ease. The Gambian people have great expectations, and they are no longer at ease. To make them at ease, we have to deliver the development agenda of this government, our government.
Civil service reform is top of the priority areas, as this is an important part of the state machinery that facilitates the much-needed socio-economic development of the country. Vice President Diouf suggests a roadmap to achieve this.
To have an effective and efficient civil service, we have to have an intermural focus of the civil service, do an assessment of the civil service, do a profiling of the civil service, have a baseline, set benchmarks, design a performance contract, which would include, among other things, training.
On the security sector, VP Diouf acknowledges that government needs to mobilize resources to be more effective, efficient and professional, adding that security cannot be taken for granted. He also expressed government's commitment to supporting our men and women in uniform to achieve this goal. One pressing issue affecting the population is the skyrocketing cost of living, which the cabinet retreat will address to find a sustainable solution. The Vice President calls on stakeholders in the government and business sectors to reflect on the problem to address it.
If the cost of living goes through the roof, it could break marriages, it could create animosity in the family, because people will begin having 1 meal a day instead of 3 meals a day. and then people become agitated, emotional, because there's nothing in the pocket, and you ask for something, then they are irritated. It leads to chaos and crisis.
As the cabinet retreat wraps up tomorrow, results from the discussions will help inform policy decisions to be incorporated into the government's upcoming National Development Plan. Mahmoud Lamin Choy, QTV News.
Stakeholders in the agricultural sector on Tuesday reviewed the Gambia's performance in the third biennial report, which focused on agricultural growth and poverty reduction as per the 2014 Malabo Declaration. More in this report by Ansumani Esonyasi.
The Malabo protocols were formulated to promote agriculture in reducing poverty in Africa. The 2014 Malabo Declaration is a recommitment to the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, principles adopted by AU heads of state and government to provide effective leadership for the attainment of specific goals by 2025, including ending hunger, tripling intra-African trade in agricultural goods and services, among other commitments. This report is designed to track the country's progress in implementing the protocols. Covering more than 5 years' research and data collection, the report is expected to give stakeholders an idea of the progress registered by government in the sector, as well as challenges and areas requiring urgent attention. Francis Mendy, Director of Planning at the Department of Agriculture, explains the importance of this exercise to the Gambia's drive to achieving the objectives of the Malabo protocols.
Stakeholders are invited so that we can look at the report and review it properly, because all the information that are needed in that processing this report was generated through secondary data. And planning, as the custodian of agricultural data and natural resources, is limited in capacity to gather all the data. The data are across the board, and that was why it is very important that we invited these stakeholders so that there is that ownership as far as the data collection process is concerned.
Though a report on the ongoing review is yet to be released, Mr. Mendy says the third biennial report indicates government registered significant progress in achieving the Malabo Protocol targets. However, he admits the sector is still confronted with challenges, especially in terms of resources.
And we also know that agriculture is a very rich enterprise. And looking at the limited funds that have been available allocated to agriculture makes it very difficult to implement most of the activities under the sector. And the CADEP also highlighted some of these programs that are very relevant, because if we talk about food security, we have to follow due processes to make sure that the agricultural available inputs, name them, be seed, fertilizer, or any other thing that's needed in production, needs some financing.
Samba Barrow, Director of Economic Statistics at the Gambia Bureau of Statistics, says given the importance of the agricultural sector to the economy, it is important to conduct frequent research and data collection. This, he says, will help identify areas for improvement and monitoring of the implementation and progress of government projects in the sector.
It's very important. Agriculture is contributing around about 24% to GDP. It has been fluctuating around 20, 21, 22, 23, 24% annually going forward. So it's very significant, and thus we really need to ensure that data collected from the agricultural sector, it's very well comprehensive. It covers all sectors of the economy. By doing so, we should be able to estimate the agricultural production meaningfully.
The 7 Malabo protocols include targets to reduce poverty by half by 2025, enhancing investment finance in agriculture, and boosting intra-African trade in agricultural commodities and services, amongst others. Ansumani Esonyasi for QTV News.
The University of the Gambia on Wednesday organized its 12th matriculation ceremony for undergraduate students for the 2021-2022 academic year. Omar P. Jallo reports.
The academic ceremony at the University Faculty Building saw 1,241 students from the institution's various departments being formally admitted into the university as bona fide members. This ceremony marks the beginning of what is likely to be a life-changing experience in the lives of these young people. Addressing the gathering, The Vice-Chancellor of the University of the Gambia, Professor Herbert Robinson, welcomed the new students and congratulated them for choosing UTG as their institution of choice, which he said is an important vote of confidence for the university.
This year's admission has been very competitive. We received 2,139 applications. However, because of limited space and infrastructure, we could only admit 1,241 students. Out of this number, 680 are males, representing 55%, while 553 are females, representing 45%.
Professor Robinson urged the students to be proud of the institution and learn, nurture and develop the knowledge and skills required, as well as the character that will propel them forward in a challenging world.
Dear students, as part of our efforts to transform UTJ into a center of excellence, we will focus on the three main pillars of teaching and learning, research, the application of research to inform the teaching and your experience in the classroom, and also to facilitate socio-economic development with emphasis on the 6 strategic priority areas.
The Vice-Chancellor also gave an assurance that the UTG is a student-centered university that will contribute significantly to the next generation of leaders, adding that at the UTG, freedom comes with some obligations and responsibilities. Therefore, students must not only protect their rights, privileges and freedoms, but also to ensure they do not trample on the rights, privileges and freedoms of others. He warned that a breach of the oath they took will attract sanctions.
You are therefore solely responsible for all of your actions. You need self-discipline, you need effective time management as well. I wish to emphasize that the University of Gambia has a zero tolerance for any form of misconduct. I further implore you to show respect to your colleagues and staff in the university.
Fatundur and Excel Babukar, both matriculants, has this to say.
To hold a high position in the Gambia, you sort of need a degree to get there. And I think I can get a great experience and a rich experience from the University of the Gambia to be able to practice because I want to be a journalist.
Me entering into the university gave me the opportunity of pursuing my career. Yeah, so that's why I'm happy to be enrolled.
Matriculation is the formal process of entering a university as a candidate for a degree or of becoming eligible to enter by fulfilling certain academic requirements such as formal examination. It is during matriculation that students formally gain studentship status of the university by taking the matriculation oath. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
And from that story, we will go for a commercial break. Still to come, we have more stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. The first rain of this year's rainy season that came in Basse, URR, flooded the community of Basse Kabakama, causing panic among residents. Our reporter in URR, Alhaji A.F. Jallo, went to investigate, speak to relevant authorities and discuss plans for mitigation. More in this report.
Recently, the Met station of Basse recorded 30.2 centimeters of rain in the first rain that almost inundated the eastern part of Kabakama village. For the Met station, this may be an indication that this year's rain and windstorm will be heavy. The recent flash flood caught people by surprise, as most of these areas had never experienced flooding before. We visited the Basse Meteorological Station to find out from the climate expert the cause of this year's flooding. Ismaila Sanyang, a senior climatologist and the officer in charge of Basse Station, said already the forecast indicated in their readings showing that people should be braced for more heavy rains and windstorms.
Well, we're going to have a lot of rains this year, as it has been said. The onset is going to be around on the 12th of June and on the 18th in the eastern part of the country, which is around this area, Basse. Yeah. 25th to 27th is going to be within the western part, which is around the Combos. Yeah. And we're going to have a lot of rain. And we are advising even the farmers, at least those people who are always sowing this thing, or even their crops within the lowlands, they have to be very careful. They should use the crops which they can resist when there is flood.
Mr. Sanya went on further to suggest steps to be taken to mitigating such occurrences.
I even want people to come out and clean up all the gutters, especially the stream going straight to our river. Let it to be clean and let it be widened. If we can have bulldozers to widen that deeper so that when the flood comes, it will go. But if it is not, in the month of September or August, September, when we have heavy rains, continuous heavy rain, which will take us complete a day, then we'll be tired, Basse.
Knowing disasters are inevitable, based on recent happenings, we also visited the regional office of the NDMA to find out their level of preparedness and what measures are in place should disaster strike.
The NDMA will continue working with partners to mobilize resources. They are available to reach out to people as disaster strike. But it is important to note that we may not have that required resources. For many institutions or partners don't only provide resources when there is no disaster. This is the worst part of it. Many institutions or partners, donor partners, will come up when there is a disaster.
Meteorology provides confidence in observing weather patterns by delivering accuracy and reliability for climate and emission data that government, regulators, industries, and the public can rely on. Meteorology enables the effective comparisons of data, which is often collected and compared over a long period of time and across different locations. For those suffering from the effects of the rains, getting accurate information will allow them to make plans in mitigation. Reporting for QTV News, I am Alhaji A.F. Jallo.
A devastating fire on Wednesday morning consumed 5 apartments at a compound in Kololi. Though there were no fatalities, the incident has left several families homeless. Babaka Sise tells us more.
The incident occurred on Wednesday between 2 to 4 a.m. when most of the family members were in bed. Valuables such as furniture, electrical materials, clothing, food items and cash were amongst other valuable items that were consumed by the flames. Babakar C., whose mother owns the compound, says the incident has devastated the families and calls on the public to support them with cash or kind. He explains what happened.
We can say it's an electric failure that led to the fire, but unfortunately, nothing was recovered. Again, fortunately, I would say, no lives were lost or there were no casualties. This happened late in early morning, as I said, 3 a.m. when many were asleep. So you just woke up and saw the flames everywhere, and it happened so rapidly, according to what I was told, from the fridge, to the wires, and everything started burning down. So I will just call on the public if they can support in anyhow, any amount, kind or cash will really help. We enter in the rainy season, and having people homeless is always difficult, particularly in accidents like this.
Havem Balio Kamara, who also lost all her belongings, says the fire caught her by surprise.
Now I'm wake up. I say, because it's today I'm finished. I'm fasting for 7 days. It's today I'm finished. I wake up around 2 o'clock. I say, I pray. I see fire. I open the door and windows. I take my daughter. I bring here. I cry. I go knock the people her door. I say, come, fire is to my house. Before people come, fire take all. Everything to my house, all going. All. My ID card, all. My daughter, her paper, all.
Dominic Senghor has saved $10,000 for his son's first communion on 19 June. The money, he said, was destroyed in the fire. Abdullah Traore, another victim who says he lost $127,000 in the fire, explains how he took the risk to save his wife and son's lives.
There I'm sleeping, I feel something. The time I'm opening my eye, I see fire. That time, all inside the house is fire, but my wife is inside, my son also inside. Then I take my wife to outside. When I come standing here, my wife asks me, where are your son? I say, is in. But I see fire, but my son is inside. I enter. When I enter, I see all there is spoiled. Then I take my son. The time I'm taking my son, the fire also is inside, but God help me. After, I come standing here with my son. Now, right now where I am, I have all this. This somebody give it to me around 6 o'clock. This was also. Now I have nothing.
Although nothing was salvaged from the fire, the victims thanked the fire service for their response by sending 3 fire trucks and the neighbors for their support in trying to put out the fire. The cause of the fire is not clear, but what is clear is that these families have lost all their belongings and are seeking support from the public. Babakar Sise, QTV News.
Quite unfortunate there. Now onto some sports news. First in football, Gambia Scorpions lost in their second match of the AFCON 2023 qualifiers. They went down 1-0 away to the Republic of Congo in Brazzaville. A 74-minute Anthony Makumbu goal was enough to do the damage in a disappointing showing by the Scorpions. Onto athletics. All 7 Gambian athletes competing at the African Athletics Championship in Mauritius have taken part in the heats of their various events. Our sports reporter Mobu Gajaga has been following their progress, and he now reports.
Among the athletes is sprinter Gina Brass, who reached the finals after her heat in the women's 100-meter semi-finals, qualifying with a timing of 11.8 seconds. However, Sweden-based Gambian sprinter Fatou Sow did not progress to the same event after finishing 7th in her semi-final heat in a timing of 11.95 seconds. Despite missing out, she improved on her first heat time of 12.2 seconds. Another athlete who failed to reach the women's 100 meters final is Maimouna Jallow, after she finished 5th in a timing of 11.71 seconds. She also improved on her time 11.88 seconds recorded in the heats. In the men's 100 meters heats, only Ibrahima Kamara, alias Nestor, qualified to the semi-final with a personal best of 10.13 seconds. However, he failed to produce that performance in the semi-finals, finishing fourth with 10.33. Adama Jammeh failed to qualify for the semi-finals after finishing third in his heat in a time of 10.59. Two other athletes, Modulamin Ba and Tony Silva, in the 400 meters did not reach the semi-finals after failing to meet the qualification time. Gina Bass remains the only Gambia athlete in the women's 100 meters final, scheduled for Thursday at 16 hours in Mauritius, 12 noon in the Gambia. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
Before we end, here's a recap of our main headlines. As the Gambia's new cabinet commenced its maiden two-day retreat to address pressing challenges facing the country, the Vice President stressed it will not be business as usual for his administration. Stakeholders in the agricultural sector on Tuesday reviewed the Gambia's performance in the third biennial report, which focused on agricultural growth and poverty reduction. The first rain of this year's rainy season in Basse flooded the community of Basse Kabakama, causing panic among residents. The University of the Gambia on Wednesday organized its 12th matriculation ceremony for undergraduate students for the 2021-2022 academic year. And in sports news, Gambia's Scorpions tasted defeat as they lost away to the Republic of Congo in Brazzaville in their second AFCON 2023 qualifier. And all 7 Gambian athletes competing at the African Athletics Championship in Mauritius took part in the heats of their various events on the first day of the competition. Well, that's it from me in tonight's edition. Thank you for watching.